on the set in 3, 2, 1, going live.
All right, everybody. Rick, another show. I want to say I'm Mel Craig.
I'm Rick Brown.
And welcome to another episode of HB Unplugged. And again, Rick, you're my guest host, and Don Ramsey just got back late last night from Hawaii.
Got back from Hawaii. He sure did.
And we all know Don's schedule.
Oh, extremely busy.
He's been gone for over a week, surfing some waves and being with his family in Hawaii. So, he got back last night, and he called me early this morning and said, Mel, my plate is full. I can't make it. And I said, well, Shawn, we'll have Shawn Wood on the show. We'll have Rick host in your place. So, I'm glad Don's back. In fact, I think he recruited both of us.
Absolutely.
We got to help tomorrow, set up for the
Brian Wilson's paddle out on Saturday.
Fact, yeah, let's announce that.
Well, this show will probably come out after the fact, but let's just to make acknowledge the fact that it happened on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And it's a paddle out, and it's something that was really started by Kelly Miller at Visit HB. And we're going to set up tomorrow. We'll have tents. We'll have chairs down at the beach. We'll have a little ceremony. Some of the Beach Boys might be down there as well.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a tribute to the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson, who just passed away.
I mean, growing up, you think about legendary people. The Beach Boys are legendary. I mean, you can't deny that. And look, they changed the culture. They changed people's lives. I mean, people, you don't have to be a surfer or a surfer girl to fall in love with the Beach Boys, and people all over the world did. And they really did make a cultural impact on not only the surfing industry but in the world in general. And,
sure did.
We miss all three brothers now are together. I mean, Carl, Dennis, and Brian are back making music, hopefully with God in heaven. Anyway, so let's get going now. We have a very special guest, Shawn Wood. Let's give him a big round of applause and welcome him aboard.
Thank you.
Look at all these people. Everybody's here from all over Huntington Beach. Yeah. Anyway, so, Shawn, like I was telling you earlier, we kind of prepped you for the show here. This is all about the leadership, the leaders, the movers, the shakers, like Rick says, and the people who really have an impact on Huntington Beach. And, you're right now, I think you're the acting president for the chamber, and let's just rock and roll. Go ahead, Rick.
Normally what we try to do, before we start talking about business, talk a little bit about your family.
Yeah. We always want you to introduce.
Yeah.
So
you got 3 kids,
married,
Jenna.
Yes. Yeah. So my name's Shawn Wood. I'm the chairman of the board for the Huntington Beach Chamber of Commerce and interim CEO. I live in Huntington Beach. I have beautiful wife and 3 kids.
All right.
My wife's Jenna. She's a school psychologist for Garden Grove, and met her when I was going to UC Davis. And we have a 8-year-old boy, a 5-year-old girl, and a 3-year-old, another little boy.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about Shawn, so Shawn, you were born in Newport Beach, but you lived here in Huntington for just a little while. I did. Then you moved up to Burbank. I did. And so was that your father worked up there in Burbank? And
no, we just had other family that lived in the area, and my mom came from a big family with 7 sisters, and one of my aunts lived in Burbank at the time and grew up in the valley a little bit, but
Burbank High School, correct?
Burbank High School.
Wow.
Yep.
Played football.
Yes. Yep.
Were you with any of the entertainment industry kids? Anybody famous?
A little, yeah. I think everybody growing up in Burbank would be
somewhat affiliated,
an extra on a show when they're like 15 years old.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was just like the
Oh,
common thing you did.
Yeah.
There was a phone number you'd call. It was Rainbow Casting, and they'd say, we need kids that are playing baseball in the area to come out to this open casting call, and that's just what you did to make extra money, and it was really great growing up.
So
in
up in
the
Burbank,
town.
Right. In our neck of the woods, we mowed lawns, through the newspaper. They went in entertainment. They did, in the background of a movie. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shawn.
But was baptized here at St. Bonaventure, and when I was younger, just growing up in Orange County and Huntington Beach, it was always just this magical place. I think back then, there was no real cell phones, and everybody had the big, huge cameras that they would rent and the VHS tapes, and there was just you could watch a whole day in the life of my family. And there's a couple of videos where it's like my birthday or big, celebrations, and I would just, even as I got older, I would really just appreciate that more. And there's I would just like draw a lot. I loved to draw like airplanes, and would go over to, El Toro Marine Base and see the air show. And Orange County just always had a special place in my heart.
When it was there.
Yeah. When El Toro was there, yeah.
Used to watching the Jets come in. Now, when you went to College of the Canyons for a year or so, and then you ended up at UC Davis as an economics major.
That's where
right?
my daughter went, yeah.
So, which is unusual because, UC Davis has a lot of veterinarians. They have a lot of people.
Yeah,
in
that's
the
my
wine,
daughter went
the
there,
wine
yeah.
industry. And then you're an economics major. So you went out there just kind of get away from the rat race, right?
Yeah,
Essentially?
pretty much. Going to junior college, I went to College of the Canyons, and they have this program called the Height and Honors Program, where if you maintain a certain, GPA and do so much volunteer work in the community, you're automatically guaranteed into a UC system. Oh. And so I was accepted to several UCs, and that was, I think, pretty far away from home base in the Valley in LA, and going up there to visit, I really just resonated with the area.
Beautiful area.
Yeah, it's a lot of farmland. You have Tahoe, that's not too far. You have San Francisco, which is the city. And then you have UC Davis, which is considered a true college town. So there's a lot of towns which, they're commuter schools, or it's not just all college, and Davis is pretty much
college.
It's all university. So
the campus is gorgeous.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Yeah. You get the big maple trees, and the arboretum there is like world renowned. You can go on these little walks through this creek that goes to the campus.
They have these hiking paths. I don't know if you've ever been there, Rick, but they have these hiking paths. It's like if you needed to get your head on straight, even if you're not a college student, you can go walk on the campus and really enjoy your afternoon taking a little hike on the campus. Yeah.
So you leave UC Davis, and then did you work for Red Bull at one time?
I did, yeah. So I went to UC Davis and lived in the fraternity house. I've always been in sports.
SAE, correct?
Sigma Alpha Epsilon. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right.
Yep. So I, being in sports, you're always around this brotherhood, and it's hard to explain, but in high school, football, basketball, track. As I got into junior varsity and varsity, it's like you kind of have to pick one sport because just the time commitment's too much. Yeah. And then being in Boy Scouts too, it's like you got to have room for academics a little bit and social life stuff. So, going to College of the Canyons, I was a walk-on, played football there, and those guys were the D1 athletes that didn't have the grades and were really, really competitive. And it was fun to play spring ball there. And I'm like, time to hang up my hat, But I did miss that brotherhood. And SAE kind of offered that. And I got to live in this beautiful house right across from campus. And going to school there, I worked for Papa John's, and I worked for Ground Zero, which is a skate company and snowboard shop. Yeah. And I was really good at sales, and I won national sales contest, which caught the eye of Red Bull, and I ended up being kind of like what you would call like a rep. They really were marketing towards colleges at the time, and they'd show up.
You did the campus rep?
Yes, yeah. I was on what was called the infrastructure team, but there was also a lot of marketing events that we did. So we would arrange for the car to show up and give out Red Bulls to everybody, or we would go.
What year was that approximately?
Yeah, I was going to say, what was
this? Was probably 2006 to 7, 2005-ish.
Not too long
so
ago,
Red Bull is relatively new to the United States. They came over from Europe.
Look where they are, and look where they are today.
And they created the category, the energy drink category. Yeah. So, they're really new at that time, and so great experience for you.
Oh my gosh, it was such a fun experience. We would go up to Tahoe and build snowboard parks and do this thing called Manny Mania in Sacramento, which is a big skateboard competition where you do manuals.
I mean, how cool is it to do something and have fun and get paid to do it?
Yeah,
I can imagine that. Yeah.
So you graduate, and then you leave Red Bull. You started Student Movers. How did that happen? I mean, that's your main source of income. That's your job. You built that business. Talk about how you got into it and how you developed it to where it is today.
Of course, yeah. Living in the fraternity house, doing Red Bull, working at Ground Zero, winning like national sales contests. Got to go to Ken Block's house. He's the owner of DC. God bless him. Passed away, but nicest man you could ever want to meet. He had a cabin up in Utah, and it was called the Mountain Lab. And for those that snowboard, they made these amazing, snowboard videos. It's called the Mountain Lab 1 and Mountain Lab 1.5. He did this national sales contest because DC Snowboards was coming out, and I was really all about it. And I'm like, everybody needs to know about this brand. We're going to sell all the snowboards. DC's great. Ken Block's great.
Wow,
I love it.
Yeah.
So he invited us all up to his house to go up there and, was doing that. And, it was just amazing. And so Student Movers was a little bit after that, because I have to kind of bring you up to speed with everything that was going on in my life at the time. So I'm living at the fraternity house, doing well in DC, in sales contest. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Student Movers came about because I had some fraternity brothers, and we would post ads on Craigslist, because moving day on college campus is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
You drive through any college campus on moving day, you're going to see all this furniture out. Everybody's moving like crazy.
Bicycles everywhere. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, couches, furniture, and you can make like $20 to $25 an hour and get tips. And what I liked about it is you got to move people that, we're in a difficult time in their life. They say like moving is one of the most stressful things.
Yeah, it is one of the top 3 most stressful things in life.
So I liked meeting, the professors or people in different walks of life that you would never really get the chance to meet. And what I loved about it is that, if you didn't like the client for the day, you didn't have to go back and see them the next day. It's not like you're going to the cubicle and seeing the same person. It's just get through the job, help them out, and then go on your way. And I was making more money doing that than I was delivering pizzas and doing some of the stuff for Red Bull. And so I ended up getting a job offer from Volcom, actually. And I interviewed down here in Costa Mesa, and I said, you know what? I just graduated. I got this moving company I started in college. It's just like really to pay my cell phone bills right now, and pay my expenses. And the gentleman that I knew, because I knew him from some of the Red Bull stuff that we did, he goes, man, take the training wheels off that. Like just run with it. It sounds like you're doing well. Like this job offer is what it is, but it was to go back up to like the Berkeley area. And I'm like, I just came from Northern California. I want to be down here with the epicenter of all the action sports.
This is where it happens.
Yeah. And work in-house. So, what started out as a sole proprietorship, became a corporation, trademarked the brand. And now we are, all these years later, but it was me and a couple of fraternity brothers that started this, and we coined ourselves.
Never guessed in a million years.
Coined ourselves Student Movers, and proud to do it.
It's huge.
What's your sphere of influence? Is it primarily Southern California, and then you move to wherever they need to move to? Whether it's cross country, is it regional, is it local?
Yeah, so
all the above.
So we started out doing what's called labor only moving, where you would just help people like load U-Hauls and Penske trucks, and
so they get their own truck, they get ready to go. Students show up and they do the work, the labor.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, there's low barriers to entry to that, and so that was really where we started, and we started being a vendor for U-Haul, and then kind of grew into like, okay, let's get trucks, let's expand, let's do out of state moves, and the bigger you get, the more licenses and requirements. And, we're a vendor for the Irvine company now, and we're a vendor for the military. So you got to have your SAM.gov listing, and it just, the bigger you get, the more complicated it gets in a way. I'll never forget doing a move up to Seattle, and we had to put like 4 trucks on a ferry, and I didn't account for putting a moving truck on a ferry going to this place called Friday Harbor, which is, an island. And, then you gotta, do the hotels and the lodging and the food and the expenses. And I'm proud of Student Movers. I love it. I love the brand. I love that we work with college students. I love the fact that, some of the people that we've moved, they're not career movers, and my movers don't want to be career movers. It's like a great college job, but I've helped some get into police stuff or
Oh, wow.
or
So transition help.
yeah,
Transitional help.
we had a guy
support.
who was an All-American, that was moving for us, and I reached out to Chief Handy and I said, hey, I got this guy. Can you meet with him? And he met with them, and he sat down and he said, you got to sell yourself because you're an All-American football player, but if you want to be in PD, you got to do that. And so that was kind of neat to see. And I love helping people kind of get into their next career. We also moved somebody
Did he do that? Did he go into police work?
I didn't stay in touch with him, but he really appreciated the
help.
the sit down and that one-on-one that he received. And another one was with Northrop Grumman. The guy was an engineer, and we were moving an executive from that company, and he ended up like getting a job with them. So
Wow.
you never know.
Yeah, you never know. It's funny. I mean, just SEMA every year. I can't imagine, because I hate SEMA week. The prior week, you have to load the truck. You have to get
For
everything
those that don't
organized.
know, talk a little bit about SEMA. That's over in Las Vegas. It's the second biggest car show in the world.
Yeah, well, it's a
Outside of Europe.
automotive industry show. Yeah. Right. Anyway, so to get ready for SEMA, you got your booths, you got the people, you've got, all the equipment, tools, supplies. Load the truck, get it to SEMA, unload the truck, get it all set up. End of SEMA, tear it all down, load the truck, come back. So I can't.
Well,
I couldn't do the moving thing at all.
Well, I love the story about Chief Handy, because what that tells me is that seems to be around the time the transitional part where everything at first was building a business and trying to build something for yourself, but then you transitioned to helping people. And we live in a world of contacts and relationships. And I think you really jumped in, not just your toes, but you jumped in with both feet.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about when you first got involved as far as giving back to the community. Was that through Kiwanis?
It was.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got involved with Kiwanis, and then
Kiwanis HB?
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So how did you first get involved? And just you just heard about it, you talked to some people, and then you said, you know what, that's something that I can see myself being involved with?
Yeah. So honestly, I was praying about it. I came to a point in my career where I was successful, but I wasn't satisfied in a way. I wanted to give back to my community.
I get it, yeah.
I didn't know how to. I just, I really wanted to get involved, and I wanted to make, I think, more of an impact and help people. And so I was in this thing called BNI, Business Networking International.
They used to meet at Old World.
Yeah. And
I was a part of that group at one time.
so, it's business to business, and we would refer business to each other, and we would
Full on networking.
we would meet at Meadowlark. And so we'd meet there, and Kiwanis would meet right after us. And so I'd always hear this singing coming from upstairs, and I'm like, wow, they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. They're singing patriotic songs. And, John Etheridge was in BNI at the time. And I said, John, what's going on upstairs after our BNI meetings? He's like, come to lunch next week. And I go and I see all these community leaders that are doing just amazing work in the community. And it's not about, BNI is very much like business to business, and they track how much revenue and all that. Kiwanis is just like show up and do good, and no one gets credit for it. And I think it was Reagan where I heard this quote where he's like, you could do so much if you don't care who gets the credit. And
Exactly what he said.
Kiwanis is very it's just selfless, right?
Yeah. It's an organization that turns and helps. It doesn't matter who in the organization is doing it. It's just an organization that really does a lot.
There's two really big ones that I think maybe you should share a little bit about. First, the Easter, during Easter time. In fact, your son, he had a little quote that you shared with us that he's so proud of his father, because this is probably the biggest Easter event, at least in Southern California, isn't it? Explain a little bit about that.
Of course. So, Kiwanis, it does the Easter event for the city of Huntington Beach. We've been doing it for, I'd say,
Massive event.
probably 30 years now. It is the biggest event from what I've seen in Orange County. And a lot of people might not know this, but our Easter event for the city of Huntington Beach has won international awards from Kiwanis International, which is voted on regionally for California, Nevada, Hawaii. It was the best service project. And then also it was in the top 5 in the world for service projects.
And creativity, though. Talk about a little bit about the Braille.
Yeah. So one of the things that stood out is a couple years ago, I got involved in doing the Easter event for the city of Huntington Beach, and so Kiwanis puts that on, and I was a co-chair for it, and I had an idea to do this beeping Easter egg hunt for blind kids, and in order to pull that off,
Check that out. What a great idea.
Yeah. So I partnered with the Braille Institute and this company called Beyond Blindness. And there's this company out in New York that makes beeping Easter eggs for blind kids. And I thought, you know what? Like Huntington Beach can pull this off. I love our Easter event. Like let's do something special for the community.
Wow, unreal.
And there's a good handful of seeing impaired individuals in Huntington Beach, which is great because we do this event for the first time, and I think this was probably like 3 or 4 years ago, the first time we did it. And a lot of the parents were coming up to me and thanking me and saying, you know, my child's never been to an Easter egg hunt because I don't want them to get trampled. And so having this beeping Easter egg hunt was very nice. And you see I almost cried. I saw this little girl, she's patting the grass to find the eggs, because they use kind of like an echo location system. And she had like cowboy boots, and she's like clicking them and like feeling, and then she finds the egg, and then she turned, like we have a spotter that's with them. They turn off the egg, and then they would get candy. And it's just one of these feel-good events, and it kind of comes back full circle when you have this huge grandiose idea, and it just kind of comes together, and it's all good for the community. And fire department has been so phenomenal with that program. So after the beeping Easter egg hunt, we do this thing where it's like a sensory area where they get to feel the fireman's helmet and their gear, because a lot of them see with their hands, so they don't see with their eyes, and there's different levels of blindness too. So some of them are just, it's kind of like blurry. Some of them are completely blind. And so just to see the smile on the kids' faces is amazing. And then, you know, that partnership has grown to where we do a beach day with the Braille Institute that's coming up in the summertime. And Rocky McKinnon comes out, brings a huge surfboard, puts them all in life jackets. They go out to the harbor over there, and, you know, just like knee-high water, but they just love it. Fire department comes out, brings a couple trucks. And,
You know, we've had several guests on the show talking about Kiwanis
yeah.
and the Easter show. This is what is so great for our listeners, because we always seem to learn something every time we do a show, and you're sharing something again that I didn't know anything about. And plus, in addition, I didn't know the awards that Kiwanis was getting for this.
Yes.
You know, what an amazing thing to be able to take, you know, the handicap part and turn it in such a positive.
Well, on top of the fact, there's 30,000 kids that come out to this
Yeah,
event?
it's huge.
I mean, it's an amazing event. They really give back. But then when you go into the Christmas season, you have Kiwanis is heavily involved. I mean, at Walmart, you have a bunch of guys in the community.
So Karen and I were Santa and Santa Claus one year.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
right?
For the Kiwanis, yeah.
So explain a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about that for those that don't know.
Yeah. One more thing. I want to
go
talk
ahead.
about the Easter thing and
Yes,
the award that we
please,
won.
yes.
So a lot of other clubs were like, I love this idea. I'm going to try to do this in our town. So it's not like you can trademark some of these neat, ideas that support the community, but it's nice to have that ripple effect. And I'd say it's probably the biggest beeping Easter egg hunt in the world. I don't know anyone that's doing it at this scale, and hopefully it grows.
Well,
I'm happy the city supports that. But back to
Congratulations, by the way. Fantastic.
thank you so much. It's like warms my heart. I just
And
love
I think let's give a plug out here, because it's important that all of our listeners know that this event takes place, and for any of these families that don't know about it, and maybe they have a blind child or whatever, now we're putting the word out. Please show up. You know, every Easter.
Definitely.
It is a great event. It is really an awesome event.
Yeah, and all the money goes right back into the community for scholarships, and it runs the program, and we love it. It's a win-win.
And they've got the whole community now is involved in one way or the other. I mean, everyone comes out there, and you know, you're throwing a softball at a little clicker, and the mayor falls into a big tub of water. You know,
Dunk 'em.
And
The dunk tank.
Yeah.
the Christmas thing that we do is pretty neat as well. And so that's called Clothe the Children. We take kids throughout the community shopping at Walmart. Walmart's great because they pick up the taxes. So you have to go through a special line that they dedicate to us. And Walmart covers all the taxes, which would really throw off the budget for this event. So Walmart's been a great sponsor in town, and they've supported this event for years. We get there super early, a little bit before there's a crowd, and we get their Christmas list, and we kind of go through, they need like a nice outfit. They get one toy. They call what I'm about to talk about is your Kiwanis moment. I've had like several of them, and I think it's kind of what keeps you coming back to Kiwanis. So you're paired up with a child, and you have their list, and you know, I'll never forget this. This little girl didn't even know where the toy aisle was, and you know, for me and my kids, like, you know, they do know where the toy aisle is, but it puts everything in perspective. And then you'd be going through stuff on their list, and a lot of these children, they have it ingrained in their mind, like we can't afford that. It's too much dollars. And so I think just having, even though it's only an hour and you're shopping with somebody that you don't know from Adam, but it really is a humbling experience. And for me, that's one of those Kiwanis moments where I could see why people, when they join, they're in it for life, you know?
And some of these kids, that might be the only presents they
That
get
is,
at Christmas
I'll tell you,
time.
I was Santa, and it would sit on my lap, and I'd say, "So, what do you want for Christmas?" You know, I mean, it's really, I really did a good job. They told me of playing the part, and there was some emotional times for me sitting there for that 2-hour period, because you could see in their face, they're asking for a toy, and they're thinking, is this really going to happen? Mm-hmm. Is Santa going to come and give me a toy today? You know, like, it was just amazing what I saw in their facial features, in their body language. It was heart-wrenching beyond belief. Yeah.
Well, there's another way that Kiwanis gets involved at Christmas time, and I think back in 2020, when you know, we had over 320 turkey dinners.
Oh yeah,
that had to be distributed with Tito Ortiz at the time, and Shawn and his compatriots at Kiwanis came out and helped distribute the meals to the families. Again, oftentimes that would be their only Christmas dinner.
Wow.
So that's another, and you probably do that more often than I've experienced, but certainly I remember you guys came out and just worked really hard to make a difference in the community.
Yeah. When I was president of Kiwanis, like, I wanted to do something for the community every month, or our members. And I think I kind of had a little bit of a COVID time during my tenure as president. So it was really hard sometimes, but also easy to give back to the community. We called, you know, Waymakers. What do you need? We need eggs, toilet paper. So simple asks, but, you know, being in Kiwanis, you kind of always want to give back. And at that time, it was very difficult. The turkeys was a no-brainer. It was coming up Thanksgiving. I think we had a large donation that your team had secured, and we were like, how do we get this to where it's needed? And I do remember running out of turkeys, and Tito was pulling money out of his wallet to give to the families to go and buy their own turkeys, and he grew up in that area too, so it was nice to see him out there giving back to the community. And it's all about community partnerships. And another thing that I did as president was, I noticed that we didn't do anything during Thanksgiving, so we started like a Thanksgiving drive-through with Bon Gusto, and it still goes to this day.
I remember that
as a drive-through, because it started during COVID, so it was all drive-thrus back then. But we're like, hey, this system works, you know? They don't need to get out. And some of them walk up because they don't have a car. But that's a great thing. We give vouchers to...
Bon Gusto's over at Warner and Bolsa.
Yeah, I know it well.
We give all these vouchers out to all these nonprofits in town, and then they're serial numbered, and anybody who needs a Thanksgiving dinner, they come by and redeem them. And you know, PD Fire helps out with it. The city... lean on all of our community partners, and so it's another great event.
What was the event at the Hilton back in 2020 that you had, and where Tito was a guest speaker? Was that just a
there was
holiday
two
event, or I can't remember the.
So that was my installation for president of Kiwanis, right. And then also when I was president, it was our 60th year in town, so we did another event at the Hilton, and the one with over at the Hilton where I was installed as president was great because it was right in the lull during, COVID. We didn't know it opened back up and then it closed and we were in that lull and everybody just
Weird
really
time of life.
wanted to get out and celebrate. And we did it outside on their lawn. And so it was a good event. I mean, he was a keynote speaker for me during my installation. He talked about how he jumped off the pier and that's how he learned to swim, and how he has a Rolls Royce, not to be showboaty or flashy, but because he knows how hard he worked to get it. And I would consider him a friend. Like I only knew him through a couple face-to-face experiences, but real likable guy, really cared about Huntington Beach. And it was nice to work with him on the community service front and actually do some work and give back to the community.
I don't know. And how did it go from Kiwanis to the chamber?
I think just volunteering and being in that world and seeing that a lot of stuff, I guess, that I've been involved in, I've made it better than what I found it. And
There's always a stepping stone. There's always, that totally makes sense.
And I keep saying, like, okay, after this, I'm done. I need to settle down, because I started off with this plate that was open for time to do stuff, and now it's like it's getting full, and the opportunities that have been coming are just too good to pass up. And honestly, it's easy when you're passionate about the chamber or other stuff I've been involved with. So after president of Kiwanis, I became the lieutenant governor of Southern California. And so
For Kiwanis.
for Kiwanis, yeah. And the lieutenant governor is, it goes to all the clubs up and down Southern California coast and goes to the international convention, which
So you're representing basically
yes,
the Southern California region, or all of California.
exactly. It's Southern California region. So I was Division 4, and that's all the West Coast. And you'd meet with all the presidents of every single Kiwanis club, and you collaborate and say, like, what are you doing this month? What events can we support? Because we're going to be doing something at Huntington Beach, maybe similar to San Clemente, and we share resources and ideas, and that's what kind of makes the organization a little bit special. And one of my highlights
And duplicatable.
yeah. So it was just so amazing being lieutenant governor after president of Kiwanis, because there was an opportunity for me to ride on the Rose Float in the Rose Float parade.
Wow,
Yeah.
unreal.
So I'm on there. I got to meet the international president, Burt West. He's from Colorado, and we invited him into town, and he came here. Got to see Lifeguard Tower Zero, meet some city officials. Showed him the park on the beach that Kiwanis helped fund, and it's a fully accessible park, which is great, and it's right on the beach. Yeah. Kiwanis logos on it, and just got to show off the town. And I think just after that, I'm like, okay, I'm done with president. I'm done with being lieutenant governor. I just want to be a member now. And then I got an opportunity to be on the Fire Foundation for a little bit. For 3 or 4 years, and that was great too. Got to learn a lot about the Kingman program, and he's our support dog for the city. And after that, I think there was an opportunity for the chamber, because I was still involved with the chamber, and my passion just kind of full circle. And I keep telling myself, like, I'm gonna say no after this one, and then it's something that I'm passionate about. I always talk to the wife first. So
The boss.
I'm like, honey, are you good with this? And then, and now that the kids are getting a little older and more into sports, I'm content being a member for some things. And, but I appreciate giving my heart to some of these organizations, and just having a little piece of me, leaving it better than I found it is awesome.
Well, I think Rick and I can hear that in your voice. I mean, that's what it really takes. It's not just about commitment anymore. I mean, it's really a part of your life that you're giving, because it seems like, what's the old saying? You give them an inch and they take a mile.
Yep.
And pretty soon your plate does get full. And then there has to be decisions made, because how much can you really do?
Yeah.
And your passion and your commitment towards what you've been doing just in the past 30 minutes talking to you, you can tell you're really into what you do.
Well, we have, go ahead.
what you're really into what you do, and it shows because when you actually have a thought process, that thought process includes the family.
Yes.
You know, especially I'm assuming that a lot of the things you've done hasn't been something that's going to pay your lifestyle, or your income, or your rent, or your groceries, or so you're also at the same time. Well, I got to make a living here too, right? I mean,
Yep.
That's all part of the plan.
Well, we have a big event coming up, 4th of July parade.
Yeah.
Biggest parade west of the Mississippi.
Hey, we're in the parade,
And
by the way.
Kiwanis is involved. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on this year. at
Yeah, show
Kiwanis.
it. We'll be wearing those.
So make sure you talk to anyone you know from Kiwanis to get your own.
That's the chamber.
we call it-
That's the Chamber of Commerce, Shaka.
Shaka, bro.
Yeah. And now, are you in the parade this year, or you guys talk about Lake Park and what you guys do at Lake Park in the morning?
So we do pancake breakfast over there, and I'm going to be bringing
Who's invited?
everybody, the
Anybody and
whole
everybody.
town. It's
That's through the Kiwanis.
Right.
It is
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
Kiwanis, yeah. And pancake breakfast, eggs, sausage.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
We have the Key Club kids on the food line, and it's a great time. I think the breakfasts have gone up to, I want to say, they used to be $5 for years, and price of eggs have went up a little bit. So I think they're like $7 or $8. You're not going to get a meal like that for that price. And that's at Lake Park. Shout out to Starbucks. They give us free coffee that we intern, donate back to the event.
Everybody's got to know where this is. So this is in Lake Park. It's the north side of the park, and it's back by the log cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it's all. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool.
You know, and you're right. I was mixing up Kiwanis with the chamber.
Yeah,
Because Shawn's involved in both. But does the chamber have an entry this year in the parade?
I'm so proud of this. Yes, yeah, of course we do. So, the 4th of July parade was started by the Chamber of Commerce, which is just, this is over 122 years ago.
Some odd years, yeah.
And so, yeah.
You got to think there was a Huntington Beach chamber 120 years ago.
Yeah, and
you got to think about that.
And the first city council meeting was at the chamber office, which was called the Board of Trade, which was the predecessor to the Chamber of Commerce of Huntington Beach. And so, yeah, we're definitely in the 4th of July parade. We're on the Republic, beautiful truck. We were on it last year. That whole team over at Republic Services is just great to the chamber. They're one of our signature investors. Have a great, amazing board. So many just big, huge, small companies involved in the chamber, all walks of different businesses. And so it's going to be nice to be in it. And we have 2 walkers this year that are going to be holding a banner that's going to announce, Huntington Beach Chamber of Commerce. We're going to be giving these out to the kids and fans, a little shaka for the 4th of July. And it's going to be a great time.
One of the things I want to talk about, because this is really, it's sort of like my wheelhouse in training. Mm-hmm. I literally train people all over the United States how to start a detailing business. And, it's really important for our listeners, especially locals here in Huntington Beach that have a business that are not a part of the chamber, to understand the importance of being part of the chamber. It goes for me, especially with new businesses. People are always asking me questions. Hey, Mel, how did you start? How did you get the success you have today? How did you, things like BNI and the chamber. And I always try to tell people, you don't need to be aggressive, but you definitely need to be assertive. And if you don't have that assertiveness to go out and apply yourself, business no longer just comes to you. Yes, we have social media. Yes, we have all these, internet opportunities to let people know what we do for a living. But you still have to be assertive enough to go get that business. It just doesn't walk through the door anymore, especially if you're in any kind of competitive business. Restaurants, detailing, hair salons, attorneys, you've got a lot of choices. And if you're not assertive, why are people going to pick you? And this is where the chamber comes in. This is where the chamber has such a huge strength. I don't think where I would be where I'm at today without the Huntington Beach Chamber when I first moved here. Because I am where I am today because not only did I just join the chamber and go listen, I was the first one up handing out cards, shaking hands, meeting people, talking it up. Hey, we're having a ribbon cutting. What is that? Well, it's where we all go to. I'll go. Well, Mel, that'd be great if you would show up. Because what I try to tell people in the business world, you want to be a business in your community and you want your community to use your services. Well, for gosh sakes, join your chamber, because that's how the word gets out. It's not necessarily everybody in the chamber just sticking together. That's how the word, it's called networking. And that's once you start saying hi to one person, if there's a relationship kindled in the business world, that's the first place to start, because all of a sudden that person, Rick, knows, oh, Mel Craig's a detailer. One day he's talking to somebody, I got to get my car taken. I got these scratches. Rick will say, oh, wait a minute, I know a guy. And that's how it grows. So let's capitalize on that today, because so many people in Huntington Beach that own businesses, some people that are I know for a fact, people that are coming to me, we're thinking of starting a business. We're thinking of getting started in the business world. I don't think people realize the resources that the chamber has to offer you, so that you can learn by going out, trial and error, which is going to cost you a fortune in the business world. You can go out there and say, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to just go out and I'll figure it out. But if you join the chamber, you've got resources. You don't have to do that. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think it's important. That's why I got you on the show. Shawn, I think this is an educational time. I think this is a time where, you get a chance to really reach out to people and let them know the chamber is so much more than just the Chamber of Commerce. So let's kind of touch on it.
Of course. Yeah. So big advocate for the chamber. If you own a business, I think it's a no-brainer to be a part of the Chamber of Commerce. And there's so many different opportunities to give your business cards out. And I like to tell new members, you don't know how much that business card is worth. I mean, that could be a $50,000 business card you just gave out.
Yeah.
Or who knows, maybe $1 million, or maybe it's going to get you to that next step. For me, in my personal journey with my company, Student Movers, I started to go to the chamber and B&I and did all that. And I did the membership route. And the chamber's really good about promoting other businesses. There are chamber members or even community members where they'll call and ask for a referral. And so being in the chamber, I get several referrals. I've had the pleasure of moving the Chamber of Commerce offices several times, working with some big businesses in town where they would probably not even give me a second look if I wasn't in the chamber. But it's an opportunity to, like you said, promote yourself, promote your business. There's also fun, educational lunches that we do. Boeing sponsors our Lunch and Learn. We're doing a lot with AI right now, and that's a partnership with SBA and the SBDC. And so they'll bring their team in, and these lunch conferences that you're getting, the value of being a member and learning is amazing. I mean, we saw one where they did a podcast, and it was all computer generated, and they did they just said, all right, just what's the content? And as a group we picked, and then they're like, okay, let's find a website. And it's kind of like how we're doing, and we're talking, but it's all AI. AI is right. Great for some things. For SEO content, I think it's great. But just learning and having the technology aspect of what the chamber is giving you is amazing. There's ribbon cuttings. There's
the exposure part of it.
Angels games coming up. We have a government affairs committee that is very in the know of what's happening within the state, and we try to give that information back to our members, and we communicate a lot with our weekly newsletters. And I think if you're a business owner, it just makes sense. And the cost is $250 a year, and I guarantee if you join, why don't you give it a year, because you paid the $250, and see if you recoup that. And I haven't met one person that hasn't had that membership pay for itself.
Right. It's funny too, because every breakfast, which is once a month, you get like 30 seconds to go out and boost your business as well. But more importantly than that is all these different events, and that's where I shined. That's where when I talk about the difference between aggressive and assertive, when the chamber puts on an event, show up. Because the event's there for you, not just that one business. When you show up and all of a sudden, maybe you are opening a business and you want everybody to come to your ribbon cutting, which I did for the detailing pros, which was amazing. And I couldn't believe how many people showed up. But in turn, you're doing that for them. And while you're there at that event, you're meeting more and more people on a consistent basis. But even more deeper than that, the chamber offers resources.
Yes.
The chamber helps in the business world with resources. That's sort of what I wanted you to capitalize on a little bit. You can make a phone call to the chamber for a lot of different things other than just going to breakfast once a month.
Yeah. The information that we offer, the different committees, there's so many ways to get involved. We have ambassadors where, let's say you join the chamber and you want to be in the ambassador program. Well, our ambassadors, their job is to promote their chamber as well as their business. And so they get the opportunity to go to all the ribbon cuttings, to get to work with city officials, with the commendations, and get to meet some of these business owners. And what I see the common thread is there is a lot of Huntington Beach business owners who are family-run businesses.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
And this is their dream. And I think to support each other from B2B or B2C, business to consumer or business to business is important within the town. And so, yeah, there's a ton of opportunity within the Chamber of Commerce. And whatever you're interested in, you can lean towards that. We have a golf committee. We have a gala at the end of the year at the Hilton coming up. Mayor Corporation is phenomenal.
Business of the Year awards.
Business of the Year awards, the Taste of HB, if you're into foodie stuff, and just having a great event out and fun in the sun and getting little bites of the town and the culture. I mean, Duke's is great. They're bringing food out again. Love Ryan over at Duke's. He's the GM over there. He's on our board of directors actually, and whatever you're into, I think the chamber has something to offer you.
You mentioned one business card that you hand out, and I'll tell you, I'm going to say this name, and you'll know who it is. And she really changed the dynamics for me and my entire life here in Huntington Beach. Cynthia Varnell. Yep. So I happened to be at a chamber meeting, and we just connected. And I that woman we business-wise, we fell in love with each other. She loved what I was doing. I got a chance to. She's so dynamic. I mean, how do you not get infected by her? You know what I mean? She has that much influence over. And I just met that one person. She was the first person I really met at the chamber, and literally it changed my entire track of business from that one meeting in a positive way, because my business skyrocketed. I was kind of flowering when I came to Huntington Beach. It was because it's the car capital of the country, and Chip Foose made a very big comment to me that, hey, man, this is where you need to be because it's what you do for a living, and we're all here, Mel. You need to be with us. And so I made the move to come here for that reason. And she was the first person I met, other than Rich Evans. And she was able to set me up at my very first event, which was, I don't think the chamber was putting on. It might have been the chamber. It was a eco-friendly event in 2010 or 11, right in there. And I showed up. She said, you talk about eco-friendly detailing. I said, yeah, I can do it all waterless. So she invited me to this event. You'll like this story. It's Method My Man is. And so while we're at the event, she came over to say hi. And then she brought this guy with her. And he said hi, what do you do? How you do it? And his name was John Gustafson. Okay. So after it was all done, it was just networking. No big deal. That following Monday, I get a call from John Gustafson. He says, Mel, what are you doing today? I said, I don't have much to do. He goes, well, I'm John Gustafson. I met you at the eco-friendly account. I want you to come and visit me at Gustafson Brothers Automotive. I just want to kind of give you a tour and show you who we are. I said, great, I'd love to. So we walked all around the place, and he knew I was trying to find my place in Huntington Beach. And he knew I was having a hard time getting a building and trying to find where I could actually set up a training school. So we end up in the back of his 7-acre facility, and we open the doors to this training center. He goes, well, what do you think of this? And I go, wow, this is your training center. Wow, John, this is fantastic. He goes, you think you could use something like this? And John, I mean, come on, yeah. I love it. I don't know, it's like 6,000, 7,000 square foot training facility. I love it. John, I could never afford anything like this. He goes, well, wait a minute. I own this building. And I said, oh, well, good, almost good for you, not good for me. He goes, no. So he ended up, this is John Gustafson. And one of the most admired men to me in Huntington Beach. And because he really gave me my start. Because he looked at me and says, look, how much do you charge per student when they fly in from wherever? Other countries or all the U.S., I was averaging about 6 to 10 students a month in one class. He says, you can give me a schedule for a year. Let me know when you have your classes for each month so I can not schedule anything during that week. He said, I tell you what, you give me 15% of every student. If you have students, great. If you don't owe me a thing. That, to me, was life-changing. I mean, I'm getting choked up right now because that is how much of an impact that man had on my life through the Chamber of Commerce.
Wow.
I mean, you see what you said is that one business card, and just because I was assertive and I made sure that I don't want to just be a member of the chamber, I wanted to get involved. I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to go to these things. I wanted to meet the other people. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be gifted the friendship of Cynthia Varnell. And hopefully one day she listens to this show, and she's in Arizona now with her lovely husband and growing her amazing son. We follow them on social media all the time. But there you go. There's a success story that people need to hear. And that happened from me attending a chamber meeting. Literally changed my life.
Mel, I love that story. I didn't know that. And it's really nice to see how helping somebody and mentoring them makes an impact on others' lives. And I try to do that when I can. I've had some, mentors in town that have really helped me out, and I look up to them. And for some of the stuff that I do, I'm like, wow, they're volunteering more than I am, or they're able to go and show up to this event. And I mean, it makes you want to be more a part of it. But the business card, you never know. And you can't be a wallflower, unfortunately. No one's going to know that you need help with your business or maybe some business questions you have. So but if you do ask, I think, I know that the chamber will help you. If someone came to me and said like, hey, how do I get the most out of my membership? I'd be happy to sit down and talk to them. Or you need to talk to an ambassador, because that's specifically what they're there for.
It boils down to these relationships you're developing. I mean, it's all about, we talked about, personal relationships you're developing, the networking you're developing. And I think that when people see that you're doing something because you believe it in your heart, they can see it through your eyes, right? And they see that passion. They said, that's somebody I want to work with somehow, some way. So by participating in more events and getting involved in more events, not that you're doing it to just be seen, but people know that you actually care and you want to be a part of the community to help other people, and then in turn they help you a lot.
Yeah.
And I think you're a perfect example of that in everything you've been doing in all these different groups, because you not only do you jump in with both feet, and I think people see that. They see you're a real person, and then when they have something that they need moved or they need something that you can offer them, they're calling you first, because they appreciate the effort you give 24/7 all throughout the year. Even though it seems like it's a lot of work, but at the end of the day, I think just what your kid said to you, how proud he is of his daddy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's as good as it gets.
I don't think we have Zoom here. Maybe we do, but
You can zoom in on that. Alejandro, you can zoom in on that?
right there. Okay. Well,
Read what it says there, because I think that's kind of cool.
so it says, my favorite memory was Easter, and the day before that, we had an egg hunt for Kiwanis, and my dad was one of the people in charge of the event. And so it made my heart melt, because my son's 8 years old, and I think part of the reason why I enjoy doing so much of what I do for the community when I volunteer is that my kids get to see that. It's just the way I grew up. There was my mom and I would go on walks around our neighborhood, and we would always go past the old folks' home, and they had this porch out front, and she always would stop and make sure that we talked to this woman who would always sit out there named Rose. And so one of my first memories of giving back and just saying hello and how's your day, and meeting somebody and talking to them, somebody in your community, it kind of goes full circle, and it goes a long way. So for my son to notice that and not, tell me that he's proud of his daddy, proud dad moment. And I think that it's going to be ingrained in his character as a man when he grows up, and he's going to see it is important to give back to your community. It is important to volunteer. It is important to bring your kids along on that journey. And, you know, that's what I think makes the difference there. And it just made me really happy.
Yeah, very
And as a Christian man, I think the good Lord's blessed you in many ways, and a lot of those that do give back to the community.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So, you know, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Shawn, what's the best way to do that?
So Huntington Beach Chamber website, or you could always reach out to me at thestudentmovers.com. There's a contact button on there. My email for the chamber is swood, WOOD, at hbcoc.com.
Which will be right up here.
Yeah, you're going to see that up here. And the phone number, again, we're going to have it up here for you. The chamber
website
chamber, yeah.
For the chamber, don't know that one off the top of my head.
Well, we got it up here anyway for everyone to see. So
Call the chamber office. We'd love to answer any of your calls, and you just reach out. Both websites, I think, are easy ways to contact me. Come say hello. I do enjoy meeting people in the community, and I'm at a lot of events. Come to a chamber event or a Kiwanis event, or if you just see me, just say hello.
Yeah. You know, it's funny to all the listeners out there right now watching this show. It's a phone call, you guys. I mean, literally, if we've touched you at all when it comes to the Chamber of Commerce or the HB Chamber, it's just a phone call. Just pick up the phone and ask a couple questions, and I'm sure whoever you speak to, they're going to guide you down the path of success, and they're going to give you some information that truly can make a difference in your life. I want to thank you, Shawn, for joining us today. Awesome. Wonderful that you took some time out of your life to be here with us. Rick,
Great job, Shawn. I really appreciate you being here today. Yeah. And, we like to highlight a lot of folks here in the community that really make a difference and make an impact, and you're one of them.
Yeah.
And, thanks for coming here.
I tell people, the chamber changed my life, and look I've become a leader here in the community. I've become a big name in the HB community with guys like Don Ramsey and Rick and PT, and you name them, I'm friends with them. Even some of the city council members, and now you. And really, that chamber meeting, that first one was a big life-changing experience for me here in Huntington Beach. Well, I'm Mel Craig.
I'm Rick Brown.
And thanks for joining us for another episode of HB Unplugged. And by the way, don't forget to subscribe to our channel because that's important to all of us.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure. I love the show. I really do. I'm a big fan.
Well, you gave me that shout out after everyone was done, and after everyone was done saying all those things, and you stood up and go, by the way, that's Mel Craig. I watched that show. I was like, wow. It was like the additional I literally got out the door and I called Rick and Don. We got an additional shout out. Shawn, said he watched the show.
The show's great.
it meant everything to us. Yeah, it meant everything to us. Yeah, that's how we're growing.
I want everyone to know about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Adios.
Of course.